Does this matter? Kind of all this formatting and colors. Is that important when it comes to creating your CV?
Great question. Um, do not use Canva to create your CV. I'll just say that very quickly now. So I've been a recruiter for many years. The most annoying thing about a CV is when it's just noisy, because we're just trying to see relevant information very quickly. And when you're putting colors and you split your CV into 3 columns and you're creating way too much work for the brain, I will put that CV aside and look at someone else's.
Hey guys, I'm AJ.
I'm Shanique.
I'm Kazi.
So in 2018, we quit our jobs to travel the world and live a freedom lifestyle.
We wanted to share our journey with you.
So welcome to the family.
Screen share. Yeah, there we go. Okay, hopefully everyone can see the screen. I don't know if you can do a thumbs up or something like that in the chat just to confirm. Brilliant. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining today. I am going to be talking to you about how to work from anywhere. And I'm going to go through an immense amount of information. Please feel free to make notes. Thanks for all the thumbs up. That's super helpful. Thank you. So I am going to go through there'll be a lot of information here. I will be sharing these slides with Shanique. So you will be able to kind of go through this in your own time with more detail. There are also links and there's lots of information in here. So, and I will be taking questions at the end. However, feel free to add your questions to the chat. I think Shanique, you're able to see the chat. So Shanique will take note of them just so that we don't miss anything. And we will get started. I'm just going to mute the newcomers. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so as mentioned, any questions, please drop your questions in the chat as and when they come to mind. No question is silly. So, everything that you want to ask is important. Okay, so how to work from anywhere. First off, Shanique has introduced herself beautifully. So I am going to introduce myself just to give you a little bit of information about me. So my name is Lola. Lola Oguntogen. It's not said like that. I'm Yoruba. And I am originally from Nigeria. So I was born in Lagos, Nigeria. And my parents came to the UK when I was around 2 or 3. So I grew up in South London, initially very close to the Battersea Power Station, which looked like this, empty and busted when I was growing up there. It looks very different now. And later on, grew up in the Clapham South area. I have around 20 years experience. Don't let the baby face fool you. And the majority of my experience is within recruitment, HR, and I've done HR for companies that have had multiple locations around the world as well. So I've got a good understanding of policies, etc. Today, I now have my own company called A Human Perspective, where I cover 3 core areas. So job search coaching, career coaching, and people operations coaching. I won't go into all the detail, but these are some of the areas that I cover. So CV, LinkedIn, interview skills. When it comes to career coaching, it could be that, you're trying to work out what you want to do next, or you want to improve the way that you work day to day today. These are things that I can support you with. So back to topic. how to work from anywhere. So first, what I'd like to do is discuss the difference between remote work and working from home. This part is interactive. So I'd like to find out if anyone knows the difference between remote work and working from anywhere. Sorry, not working from home. Does anyone know the difference between the two? I've just seen this woman join the workforce age too.
Oh, I don't know the difference.
No. Okay, that's fine. Anyone else?
Yes, I think it's remote work is where you need to be in a specific country. You know, it's like it's location based versus being able to just literally work from anywhere. You can move countries however you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. You've pretty much hit the nail on the head. So I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. I am still laughing. Okay, so let's talk about remote work first. And the reason why I want to kind of cover the difference between the two is because I think there are a lot of words and terms being used at the moment, and it's all so confusing. It's really, really confusing. No one is really explaining the meanings behind it, and I'm hoping to create some clarity today. So let's first talk about remote work. So effectively, it just means you don't work in the office. So it usually means you work from home. And I've put mostly from home because there's some companies that will say, okay, but you sometimes need to attend these meetings, you know, in this particular location on set days, or if we have offsites, you need to attend those, or if we have quarterly celebrations or anything like that. So you'll work mostly from home, and you may potentially be able to work anywhere within the country that you're in. So let's say, you know, you're doing remote work in England, you can work anywhere in England. That's basically what remote work means, as long as you've got a good setup, a good place to work from, and good internet connectivity. It's always good to just double check your employment contract though, and any remote working policies to understand, you know, what that looks like for you. But that effectively is the meaning of remote work. It just simply means you don't need to go to an office the majority of the time. When you do, it's occasional. Okay. So working from anywhere, it's the dream. It's what we all want to do, including myself. And effectively what that means is that you can work from any location in the world. Okay. So what I'd like us to do next is discuss the scenarios in which this can realistically happen. Okay. So what do you think, just questions, and feel free to either speak or you can put your answers in the chat, but what do you think are some of the possible ways to work from anywhere? Any ideas?
Again. I would say definitely just having some kind of freelance career or consulting career, or a lot of like coaches. They're working from everywhere, things like that.
Yeah, again, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I bet you were the teacher's favorite.
Yes.
I can tell.
And teachers as well. Yes, people teaching you languages, they can work remotely.
Yeah. Very, very true. Yeah. So I don't know if I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Is it Carice? You said if your job is completely digital. So you can have a digital role and not necessarily be working from anywhere. So as Yondra mentioned, it's more around your contract, but I'll provide a little bit more detail around that now as well. Okay. So there are 3 routes to remote working. Carice. Okay, thank you. There are 3 routes to to working from anywhere. I keep on saying remote working, to working from anywhere. The first is that your company has a work from anywhere policy, which I'll go through in a bit more detail. The second is that your company is able to hire people regardless of the country that the employee resides in. So they hire regardless of where you're based at the time. And then the third option is that a company hires you regardless of your location, and you're able to travel whenever you want. So they are 3 slightly different scenarios. Okay. So just to go into a little bit more detail in terms of what the first scenario will likely look like. So the first scenario where your company has a work from anywhere policy, you're likely a permanent employee, and your company will have a work from anywhere policy. If you're not aware of whether your current company has one, definitely try to find your company handbook or policy book, or ask whether one exists, because it's possible that you are actually able to do this if you're not aware of it already. And effectively, what the work from anywhere policy allows you to do is to work remotely away from your home location for certain periods of time. When it's international, it has to be for short periods of time. Does anyone know the reason why? If you want to work
because of tax?
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's for tax reasons. So quite often when you're a permanent employee, actually every single time you're a permanent employee, your contract is linked to the laws, the working laws of that country. And also the taxes that you pay are also linked to that as well. So if you work in another country for too long, effectively what can happen is both you personally and your company then become liable for tax. So it can be very costly. And at the moment, there isn't a lot of flexibility around that. I think things are beginning to change, which I'll go through in a bit more detail. And yes, depending on the country, it can be 3 months or 90 days that you can spend somewhere. It does vary, so it's always worth checking. The other route is that your company hires regardless of the location that you're in. So let's say you've decided you want to live in Morocco. If you've got Moroccan citizenship and this company will happily hire you from anywhere, then they will create a permanent contract for you. If you don't, then you will be on a freelancer contract. But the way that this works is the company either has entities that they can hire you from, or they will use an employer of record company. And effectively, an employer of record company, they have relationships with other local companies around the world. And so they're able to create contracts based on those partnerships. Okay. So that's the other route that you can take. And the final route, which Deandra has mentioned, is that you're a freelancer. And this is when you have the most freedom. It's when that means you're completely responsible for yourself, and the company is not liable for tax or anything like that. You pay that. You do definitely want to check local laws around working and living in countries for extended periods of time. Some countries are quite rigid and you can't actually work on a tourist visa. So you've got to be super careful about how you maneuver. I know a lot of people are generally, if they're just spending a couple of weeks somewhere, under a month, it's fine. But you do just want to be careful about how long you spend working in different countries. Just double check the regulations around that, because it's shifting and changing all the time. I feel like it is becoming more flexible though, which is relevant for the next point, which is around digital nomad visas. Has everyone heard of digital nomad visas?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So very quickly, brilliant. Thank you. So very quickly, what a digital nomad visa is it allows you to work remotely in a foreign country. Great. Okay. Lots of people have heard of digital nomad visas. And to qualify, you either have to work for an employer or a company that is outside of that country that you have the visa for, or you can have your own business and manage and have a home base outside of that country. And there are quite a few countries at the moment that have created digital nomad visas, and they are growing in number with, you know, the whole digital nomad movement growing. There are more and more countries actually letting people work in their countries for certain periods of time under the visa. So I will again be sharing these slides, but these are some of the countries that have digital nomad visas. So Leanne, okay, I'll leave that question to later, but that's a good point. So Europe, these are some of the countries that you can that have digital nomad visas, the Caribbean as well, Middle East and South America, and Asia and Africa. Okay, I've also provided a link, so you'll be able to check that as and when they update it with other digital nomad visas. You do need to check each individual country in terms of their requirements. You know, every time you apply for a visa, there will always be requirements. So whether that's earnings, the hours that you work, the type of work you do, it will vary from country to country. So definitely do your research around that. Okay, so do your research, ask the right questions, and decide which route is best for you. Okay, next up, I'm sure you're wondering, okay, but how do I even find work? How do I find work that enables me to work from anywhere, or that enables me to work from a different location? And I've actually got a list of job boards that you can use. So all these are hyperlinked. When you get this PDF, you just click and it will take you to the website. I try to find sites that effectively do not care about your location. And they will, if they feel you're the best person for the job, they'll offer it to you. Again, there will always be remits around that in terms of how that works, but hopefully this will help. There are also companies. All these companies hire people regardless of their location. So they're definitely worth looking into, but there are many more as well. I know quite often when people are looking for work, you know, maybe you're looking for a remote job, you will often find that they're based in the US and they're actually tied to a specific state. Again, that is due to local working laws, and for tax reasons, they do vary even in the United States alone. So definitely double check the detail in terms of, you know, how that would work to see if it's a solution for you. If you're on LinkedIn, I highly suggest you look up this lady, Michelle Colson. She is a digital nomad. I believe she's originally from the UK, now living in Spain. And she actually helps people find fully remote work. As well as that, she has a newsletter sharing different people's stories around remote working. So I definitely recommend that you look her up, follow her, subscribe to her newsletter. I'm sure there are other people like her on LinkedIn as well, but she's a key person that has kind of stood out to me. And ultimately, again, I would say, you know, freelancing is the way to have ultimate freedom where you're completely responsible for yourself. So it means not being employed by a company and, you know, delivering services to individuals or companies, other businesses on a temporary or project basis. Something to bear in mind is that as a freelancer, you are responsible for paying your own tax, health insurance, covering yourself in terms of that. Any pension contributions, do make sure you're doing that. Any other personal contributions. You don't get paid for holiday or sickness. So that's something that you would have to cover if you're not able to work a day. So do just bear that in mind. But I still think it's probably worth it. I'd still think it's worth it if you can do it. And now some typical jobs, which some people have already mentioned, that you can do if you're a freelancer. So teaching English, for instance. Someone mentioned earlier as well, being a coach. So if, for instance, you might want to be a life coach, a career coach, that's something that you can easily do as a self-employed person. If you're a developer, there are some developers that use code to develop, others who don't. It's possible to do that as a digital nomad, virtual assistant, social media manager, personal trainer. That's not linked to having to be in one location. You can do that. You can get clients wherever you are, whether that's you using a gym or not. So you can do that. Interpreter, copywriter. I'm seeing on LinkedIn that actually the copywriting world is blowing up at the moment. It's a very, very popular field that doesn't require qualifications, same as virtual assistant as well. So those are things that you can do. That's work that you can potentially do today. Designer and consultant. So effectively anything that you have knowledge in, you can consult on. So anyone can be a consultant. But these are some typical roles if you are considering, being a freelancer. I've also got some freelancer job sites here as well. So you can post your profile, you can apply for projects that people post. So a lot of people say, hey, I'm looking for someone who can do this, this, and this. You can actually put a proposal forward. You can, so you've got Fiverr, TopTal, Upwork, Jubal, Freelancer. There's some more, but these are the key ones that you should definitely look into if you, are looking for freelancer work or you want to actually market yourself. It's also a good place to see what other people are doing as freelancers, because there'll be loads of jobs out there that I'm not aware of that potentially you can do and start tomorrow. So it's also a good idea to just see, okay, what are people actually offering here? Is there something here that I can do similarly, or is there a lane that people aren't covering that I can actually take advantage of today? Next up, we have online communities. I think this is a really good way to really understand what your options are when it comes to working from anywhere. I've provided links to some online communities that are all about working remotely, working as a digital nomad. I think it's a great way to connect with people who are doing it today, and just seeing where do people tend to do this work from? Where do they, is it Thailand or, is it Mexico? You'll find that there's some specifically popular countries that people tend to work from. But you can also, for instance, with Facebook, if you have some certain locations in mind, you can actually look for digital nomads or digital nomad groups in Greece, Italy, by actually just doing a search. There are specialist digital nomad groups based on location as well. LinkedIn is a huge, huge online community. It's a fantastic platform. If you're not on it, I definitely advise you sign up, even if it's just to explore it and see what's going on and start to familiarize yourself. A lot of people are literally building their careers on LinkedIn today. LinkedIn has over 950 million members all over the world. Imagine if you can tap into just 0.1% of that. You don't need to have a premium account to make the most of LinkedIn. So you can have a regular free account. So LinkedIn is a business and employment focused social media platform. People use it to network, to their groups there on LinkedIn as well. They do it to access and build communities. They also have a services page, so you can let people know. It's a way of letting people know, hey, these are the services I have. So whether that's coaching, consulting, anything like that, you can actually put that in your LinkedIn profile. So if someone is searching for a particular service, they can find you through that way on LinkedIn. You can also use it to promote your services. So you can create content, you can put posts up, you can interact with other people in similar fields in order to start to get eyes on your profile. And it's just a great way to build your personal brand because people buy into people at the end of the day. So it's just a way for people to start to familiarize with you and what you do. But yeah, if you're not on LinkedIn today, you know, I highly recommend you sign up and explore. You don't have to be active, just explore and see what it's about. Okay. Next up, getting ready. So when it comes to the decision around moving, there's some certain elements that you do really need to consider. And that's what I'm going to touch on next. So first up, family. So if you're moving with your partner, children, pets, do make sure, I know you're not going to forget them, but do make sure you think about how a move will impact them. You know, will your partner have work opportunities if you're to move, based on the location? What are schooling options like, at different stages for children? How easy is it to actually relocate with your pet? What does that look like? What are the conditions like for your pet as well? So definitely make sure that you're considering everyone. When you relocate, there are going to be a lot of things that you discovered you missed anyway. That's all part and parcel of the journey. But this is actually really something that takes a lot of research, thinking about how it impacts other people as well as yourself. Take the time to really research the location that you're considering moving to. What is the lifestyle like, the culture, the size of the city? What's the population like? What's the healthcare infrastructure like? Public transportation, internet connectivity. That one is key. What are all those elements like? Definitely, please do look into that. Do not assume that because you had a good holiday there, that actually it's a great place to work from as well, because those are two completely different lifestyles. Research things like exchange rates, the cost of living. So you can go to some locations that, okay, the rent is low, but the food is high, or the food is high and the rent is low. So definitely look into that and work with what you find out around the cost of living and extrapolate that to work out how much you need to save. What will your monthly budget be? And what much will you need to save for the move, but also to exist in that new country for a certain period of time. And that's actually what I cover in the next point. Do try to save at least 6 months worth of that budget that you come up with, so you're ready for any surprises that may come your way. I think realistically, you probably need to double that, but you can relocate with 6 months worth of the budget that you calculate. But the more money you can save, the better. Okay, double check your passport. Make sure you've got enough time on it. Check when it's expiring. There's some countries that won't let you, that you won't be able to travel to if you have 6 months on your passport, or you don't have enough time on your passport when it comes to your return date, for instance. So make sure you check your passport. If you've only got 6 months or even 8 months and you know you're going to be away for around a year, then you may as well renew your passport to be safe. You don't want to be caught out outside of country with an expired passport. It's just going to be too much headache. So do consider that. Also research the travel requirements of the country you're interested in, any related visa requirements based on the period of time that you're going to spend there. I would say generally any travel under a month, you're usually okay, but do always double check. Healthcare. This is a big one, and I think one that people potentially don't look into enough. Definitely look into local healthcare services. What are hospitals like? What are GPs like? How does that whole system work? There are some countries that actually you can't even access healthcare if you're not on the right kind of visa. So do double check what's on offer and whether your citizenship or visa even allows you to access it, or would you have to go to a private hospital and pay for that? How much would that cost? So definitely look into that. And I would say that the safest bet is to ensure that you've got your own private health cover. That's the safest thing to do while you're abroad, to cover you while you're abroad. If you are on prescription medications, double check whether they're permitted in the country that you're interested in. Also, whether it's available in that country. And even if it's available, do you trust the quality? You may need to actually stock up to ensure that you have enough of your prescription medications as well. Next up, we have shipping versus storage versus selling. So decide what you want to take with you, what you're going to keep in your home country, so what you're going to store and what you're going to sell. Realistically, shipping and storage are super expensive. So shipping, it's an expensive cost upfront. Storage tends to be expensive over a period of time. So you probably want to sell as much as possible. That's probably the best thing to do, but do have a think about this in terms of what will work best for your personal situation. Also try to understand what's available in the country that you're moving into. How easy is it to buy a fridge? Do homes normally have fridges? Or I know some parts of Mexico, it's not typical to have, a washing machine in your apartment. You just go to the laundromat. That's just the culture, it's just the way things work. So double check, what's normally available in homes, and what would you need to buy and how easy is it to access it? Would you have to pay shipping costs for that as well because they're shipping it from the US, etc. Other admin to just consider, if you can speak to an accountant just to understand any tax obligations or implications. Definitely connect with other expats. Do your research through their experiences. What are they up to? When it comes to how did they handle all these things, and what is their advice if they were to do it again, for the journey to be smoother. Contact your bank because it's very likely you will need to use your personal bank account. It's not that easy necessarily to open a new bank account in a foreign country, so you want to be able to ensure that you're able to access your funds from abroad. Decide on whether you need a phone plan, a local phone plan for the country that you're going into, and make photocopies of any important documents that you have. Last but not least, make sure you take the time before leaving to get together with your loved ones. Okay. You're going to be far away from them. You're not going to be able to see them, as often as you're used to. So, end on a positive note, so to speak, and, spend that quality time with them and celebrate your leaving, make them a part of it. Okay, so you're working abroad, you're living the dream, you're working from the beach. But as you can see, this is not necessarily the most ideal setup to work from. So what we're going to talk about next is your working space. And I think this is something that, again, sometimes is often missed. So you want to make sure that you have a space that you can work from, that is comfortable and that you can focus in. So really think about, if you're staying somewhere, does it have a desk? Does it have a corner where, you can actually work from? Do you need a monitor? How are you going to work with that? A big one really is to check internet connection in the desired location that you're looking to work in. That's often one of the biggest issues when it comes to working abroad. Looking to co-working spaces. There's some certain locations where they're really good when it comes to co-working spaces. So I think Bangkok, Bali, but again, just do your research, double check the location you're in and, how many that you have around you. And also, as mentioned, have a good office setup. Shanique actually pointed this app out to me. So they're called OpenSignal. And apparently you can check internet connectivity wherever you are down to street level, which is awesome. So if you know where you're going to be staying, if you know the area or the exact street, you can actually find out what the internet connection is like in that area. Because sometimes you can have one road where the internet connection is great, you go to the next road and it's awful. So this is a great app to use. Okay, and we've reached the end. Thanks everyone for listening. Any questions?
I have a question. Hi. Thank you for that. That was really good and very informative. I'm just wondering about, so I started off just doing virtual assisting after leaving my real estate career, but I just noticed the salary has gone down, I guess because more and more people are looking for this work. So there's more competition. So there's, lower salary. So maybe you can speak on that and perhaps, how we can work around that.
So I think that I don't know whether you're on LinkedIn at the moment, but I think with more and more people setting up their own businesses, and a lot of us are doing the same thing, where a lot of us are coaches or VAs, as you've said. I think this is where personal branding really comes in. Like, how are you going to stand out from the crowd? And how are you going to attract people to you because you are you? Because of your approach and the way that you work. Are you working with any platforms at the moment? How are you finding opportunities?
Right now, it's very kind of a scattered approach, but just usually it's word of mouth, friends of friends. So that's been quite helpful. But I definitely I need to pick it up, pick up the pace.
Yeah. So I would say, word of mouth is great, but I think perhaps those websites, like Fiverr, perhaps putting your profile there, responding to people's proposals there, you're definitely going to have to be more proactive. You're not going to be able to, word of mouth is just not enough. Then that network is great, but it's going to be too small. Around pricing, you have to know your value personally and not budge. So just, in terms of me personally, Not everyone is a fan of my pricing, and that's okay. I'm confident about what I do and the level to which I do it. And if you've been doing this for some time, you also need to get that confidence as well. And that's what people buy into. So I think that's the best way around that. I think you need to come up with a plan as to, okay, what are the different ways, what are the different routes and avenues that I can potentially get clients, and start to really work at them and tackle them so that you can start to build a flow towards you.
Thank you.
No worries. I can see Leanne asked about countries with digital nomad visas. Don't they have requirements as to how much you earn? Yes. Yes, they do have requirements as to how much you earn. But again, that varies from country to country. With some of them as well, you need a letter from your employer. So it really does vary in terms of what that looks like. But yes. And DeAndre, yes, I'll be sharing
We had Keris asked, is it worth paying for premium on LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn. No, you do not need to pay for premium. What you need to do is just be no, you don't need to pay for premium. Premium is really realistically for people who are really using LinkedIn to build up their business. And even then, you don't need it. DeAndre, you said Brazil is very low. What do you mean?
For the requirements, for the income requirements, I think it's something like $1,500 a month or something. So it's very low for the visa digital nomad. So,
okay, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you.
I had a question actually,
yes.
Lola.
Yeah.
With regarding CVs, I know people put a lot of emphasis into trying to make sure that their CV is really good. I see online a lot of people now using Canva to create their CVs, and it looks very flashy and fun and perfect. Does this matter? You know, kind of all this formatting and colors, is that important when it comes to creating your CV?
Great question. Do not use Canva to create your CV. I'll just say that very quickly now. So I've been a recruiter for many years. The most annoying thing about a CV is when it's just noisy, because we're just trying to see relevant information very quickly. And when you're putting colors and you split your CV into 3 columns and you're creating way too much work for the brain, I will put that CV aside and look at someone else's. It also says something about what you are prioritizing as a candidate. So you're prioritizing aesthetics over content. And actually, what I want is content. So just keep it simple, white background, black font, and just take all the noise out. With a lot of the jobs that you are applying for, as a recruiter, I've done this before. Sometimes I'm looking at 100 CVs in a day. So I need to be able to review that information very quickly and effectively. And the more you give my brain to take in, the more likely I am to just dismiss your CV. Like, you'd have to have a really good CV for me to consider that. I can see Ebony has a question. When searching jobs on LinkedIn, how do you filter your search more efficiently? So that probably needs another session. I'm happy to do like I can, share my screen and kind of show you how to do that. But really it's about knowing the type of job titles, for instance, that the job is likely to contain. There are lots of ways to be specific. You can be specific by location, job titles. You can also put in things like potential skills that you would need. So let's say you're looking for an accounting role that involves Excel, putting Excel in as part of the search. So there are different ways, depending on how you're using it now, that you can filter your search more efficiently. I hope that answers the question. And then also, how do you make sure your resume is ATS proof or stands out? I love this question. I love this question because there are a lot of career coaches out there and people helping with CVs right now, who I feel like they're taking advantage of people's ignorance around, the job application process. And they use these words like ATS. Yes, we call it ATS, but good question, Marsha. ATS is an applicant tracking system. And it's being made to be this beast, this AI beast, and you need to get it through the ATS. The ATS is just a database. I still manually will look at CVs, applications, one by one. That doesn't stop happening. It's simply a database. Where you can miss out is if your CV doesn't have relevant terms that or tools or anything like that related to the job, then when I'm doing a search outside of the application process, let's say, okay, a job has come in. I don't feel like I need to put an advert out right now. Let me see, if I can find CVs in the database. Then just as you would do when you're searching on Google or anything like that, you use keywords. You will say, hey, Google, I'm looking for a tree. Like, it's the same thing that we do in the ATS, so it's simply a database. It's a regular database. Google is a database. LinkedIn is a database. Facebook is a database. So anywhere where you can search for something is a database. And that's effectively what an ATS is. And if your CV doesn't have the right words in it, then your CV isn't, then it's not going to come up high in the search. It will come up lower. So there's no such thing as ATS proof. It's not like this gate that it's being made out to be. If recruiters are not reviewing CVs manually, they're just lazy. Sorry, I said it. Most recruiters are looking at CVs one by one. Like, we do go through all of them if they're good. Any other questions? Okay, fine, perfect. So next up, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen. I have a sample CV format that may be useful for people. When Shanique shares this PDF, you'll be able to click on this image and it will take you to the Google Docs. So just make a copy of it and you can update it with your own information. And for everyone who is on this live today, in this Zoom call today, I am going to be offering you a free CV review. So I'm going to share a form in this chat. And what you can do is send me your CV. And as a minimum, I will make 3 points around the areas or ways in which your CV can be improved. Okay. So I will share that link shortly. I'll get the form out. It's on my other screen. Pleasure. But does anyone have any other questions in the meantime? No? Okay, brilliant. I will stop sharing my screen. If I can work out how to do that now. Here we go.
I had one question,
share.
sorry.
Okay, Natalie, no worries.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
No worries. I probably did
my
that.
question was on one of the options was on career options was English, tutoring English. And what I wanted to know is, I don't know much about TESOL, but I wanted to know if you needed a specific teaching qualification in order to do that. I have 2 degrees and a master's, but it's not in teaching English or anything like that.
Yeah, good question. From my understanding, I don't think there's one specific course that you need to do, Shanique might be a good person to ask about this. But you definitely will need a teaching qualification for sure, because it's one thing to have, a skill set in English, but it's a different skill set to actually teach. And so that's the part that schools or programs will want to know, that you understand the methods that you need to teach people.
Yes, I get that part, but would it be a PGCE or a different qualification?
To be honest, I'm not sure what the exact ones would be.
Okay,
But
sure, no problem.
Shanique, is that
So
something that you can?
yeah, let me, if I jump in. It depends on what you want to teach. So if you're thinking about wanting, you mentioned the PGCE, that would be if you wanted to say teach secondary and you wanted to teach a specific subject and you wanted to work with students who are in the UK specifically.
No,
So
I was
let's say you want,
more thinking about teaching online and from a different country.
yeah, so then you would probably be more like, if you want kind of an easier route in, then it
Yeah.
would potentially be the TEFL, TESOL. There's also the CELTA. Of course, there's a number of different names, very slight differences between the courses, but they're all pretty much the same, to be honest. You can actually get in without any qualifications if you're a native English speaker. A lot of people are already quite fluent in speaking English and they just want the opportunity to practice with a native. So they're not necessarily looking for you to have specific qualifications. And there are some websites where you don't need any qualifications. Some that come off the top of my mind are like Outschool, Preply, Bebo, or it's called Engo now. However, what you will find, not Outschool, but with Preply and with Engo in particular, they will accept you without qualifications. However, the chances are you're going to earn less. So because you haven't done the official qualifications. So those can be quite low, like $10 to $12 an hour. That you might earn. Once you have the qualification, then you are looking in potential increase, 16 to 25 to $30 per hour is kind of average. But if you wanted, and just if we do have any actual qualified teachers that do have PGCEs or QTS, then you would probably more look for a tutoring role into your specific subject, because you can command way more than that if you do have PGCE or QTS. But you can get into tutoring online English for those who English is not their first language, quite easily. And yes, you can do it without a qualification, but you just have to bear in mind that your earning potential might be low.
Right, okay, got you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello there. I'm really sorry to jump in. I just don't know how to write on the screen. So just carrying on from what you were just saying, it's Luann here. I am an English teacher. I've got my PGCE. However, I'm wondering, do I need to go now? I've got an English degree and a PGCE. Do I need to now go and get a TESOL or a TEFL and stuff like that?
I wouldn't. If you've got a teaching degree, I wouldn't even go into teaching English as a second language. I would actually focus on teaching your subject, because you've got to remember, if you've got a teaching degree already, then your clients are UK students, and the pound is one of the strongest currencies to earn in. So, like I said, you have the potential to be able to, we know what the cost of living is like in the UK. So you can charge way more because people just have more money to spend. So your earning potential might be 30, 40. Sometimes I've known tutors that have earned £50 an hour teaching science or maths or English to UK British students. But if you're going to be teaching TEFL and teaching English as a second language, then your potential clients are in Japan, or they're in China, Brazil, and they're obviously their cost of living is much lower. So they just don't have as much money to pay out. So they can't afford to pay as much. So if you are a qualified teacher, and when I know they're both qualifications, but I'm referring to QTS,
Yeah.
PGCE. If you have those qualifications, I would stick with British children and tutor the subject that you're qualified in.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I'm also teaching English on the side, but I don't have any of the certifications, just a degree and experience. So I was just wondering if there's any other sites that you might recommend. Like I'm on Live XP right now, but it's very pays like next to nothing. So Shanique, if you know of any sites that might pay a bit more, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, so Preply, with Preply, you can determine how much you want to earn. In my experience and kind of teaching to people that I know that are on the platform, you're more likely to get bookings if you're charging less. So if you're charging $15 to $20 an hour, you're more likely to get bookings. But I do know people that are on the platform and they're charging 25 to 30 an hour. So it's possible, but then your chances of actually securing bookings might be a little bit less. But with Preply, one of the good things about Preply is you can change your pricing. So you might start a little lower and then gradually increase as you go on. So Preply, you can determine how much you want to charge. Outschool is a good one if you want to charge more, because again, they allow you to charge anything that you want. The good thing about Outschool is you can teach multiple students at once. Most of these platforms are generally one-to-one. Outschool, you can teach in groups, and then you can charge per student. So you might charge $10 per student and have 10 kids in your class. Then in an hour, you're making $100. So that's kind of one way that you can charge a bit more. The only thing with Outschool, they do have a ready to buy audience on Outs that's in the millions. But most people tend to promote themselves, and most people that earn the most on Outschool tend to market themselves on other platforms like LinkedIn or Facebook, social media. And that's why they're able to generate so much, because they are self-promoting, and they're not solely relying on the platform to actually bring them in their students. But Outschool's probably the platform with the highest earning potential for teaching, I would say.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to emphasize this point that Shanique has made around self-promotion. Like, this is the key to everything. This is truly the key to everything. Making people aware of you, who you are, how you do what you do. This is how you're able to increase your prices or set prices at a certain standard. It's not going to happen just because you exist. There's just far too much competition. So you've got to be proactive with this. Honestly, it's a game changer. It really, really is. So you've got to figure out ways to become more visible. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I thank you for that. I would probably I'll probably have a private conversation with you, but I think right now the
Sorry.
challenge is I don't know what to promote myself in, because I have lots of different skills and I'm just trying everything right now to see what actually sticks, what works. So it's hard to, I feel like, promote yourself in everything. That's probably not a good idea.
Yeah. You've definitely got to hone it down. Okay, I'll probably drop you an email. I think you shared your email in the chat, so I'll definitely drop you an email. There was also a question about, if you, about having, if I have a poor credit score, is that going to be an issue? I don't see why it would, as long as you've kind of sorted everything that you need to sort. It makes financially, that just makes your life easier. But I'm not aware of, a credit score being an issue. Okay, Sherelle has also said that's my problem too. I have many skills and talents, but okay, so I'm going to challenge everyone that believes this. I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm going to challenge you a little bit on this, because the way I interpret it is, you need to take the time to figure out two things. One, what you're truly passionate about, because are you truly passionate about 10 things? There's got to be some kind of priority there. Like, what gives you the most energy? What excites you the most? What comes to you most easily? What makes you light up? Because that's where you're going to do your best work. So yes, lots of people can do many things, but what kind of pulls your heart, So I think challenge yourself to really understand that and then focus on that. You can focus on that or two of those things, but it's going to be very difficult to be successful trying to do many things. Like, you've got to focus, and then definitely narrow down what you're interested in, and then go do it that way. So if travel excites you, that's fine. Perhaps being a travel blogger, I don't know, I'm just saying that, but that's when you'll do your best work. Being paid for being Sherelle excites me, exactly. So yeah, travel blogger. But then you may have to invest some money into that first, i.e. go on trips, do lots of Instagram posts, make sure there's some inspirational stuff in there as well. So what value are you providing that people would want to pay for? So just some questions to ask yourself. Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions?
To get off the bloody thing.
Hey, Luan.
Oh, hi.
Okay.
Didn't manage to get there before it closed, but
Where were you talking?
Post office.
Okay.
But they were telling me that.
Who was?
Sorry, Andy and Jolie and stuff were telling me that it took a bit too long.
Okay. Yeah, private convo. I've muted. Okay, brilliant. So any other questions? I've shared my LinkedIn, feel free to connect. Please let me know that you're from today's session, because I don't connect with everyone. So but I'm happy to connect with everyone on this call. Again, I'll be sharing the slides with Shanique, who will be sharing them in the group. My contact details are there too. So my email address is there if you do want to get in touch. And yeah, hopefully you found this useful. We'll probably share a survey to see, what went well, what could have been better. I think I've already got some ideas myself, but it would be great to get some feedback as well. Okay, and don't forget to send your CV through the form. Again, this is just for people who have attended this live session today. Yeah, please do take advantage of it, because I normally do charge. And that's everything. It was lovely meeting everyone.
Thank you, Lola. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I will end the chat. Does everyone have the link? Make sure you get it. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for attending and being great guests.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Nancy, Maria, Ebony, Amaria, Sherelle. Thank you. Natasha. Thanks, Christina. Carice. Thank you.